News this hour, union members were back to work today after voting to end their nearly 5-week-long strike against John Deere.
Timing. Interesting. It could really impact us ahead of the end of the year. Now, this John Deere strike was timed before the holiday season, so we wanted to look into how many tractors are usually sold over the holidays. 10,000 workers from 14 different John Deere plants could walk off the job at midnight. The company, one of several facing worker strikes in recent weeks. Union members overwhelmingly rejected a contract offer from the company over the weekend.
The signs were there long before Ottawa admitted anything was wrong, before the headlines caught up, before the markets reacted, before John Deere became the symbol of a collapse nobody wanted to acknowledge. In the farm towns of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, you could feel the tension months earlier. Farmers delaying purchases, dealers whispering about empty order books, and machines sitting untouched on lots that used to be cleared within weeks. Something was breaking, and everyone close to the soil knew it. What nobody expected was how fast the break would spread, or how devastating the consequences would be. John Deere didn't send up warning flares. They didn't leak rumors or hold quiet briefings. They made one cold, calculated decision: move production out of Canada and deeper into the United States. When the news reached Ottawa, Mark Carney didn't just react, he erupted. Because when a company like John Deere pulls up its roots, it's not a business adjustment. It's a verdict on the economy, a verdict on the policies that shape it, a verdict on the government that ignored the warnings. But the truth is blunt. The collapse didn't start when John Deere cut production. It began when Canada's farm economy buckled, quietly, deeply, and long before anyone in power noticed. For months, farmers were being crushed under interest rates that doubled, inflation that squeezed them from every angle, and trade uncertainty that turned essential purchases into impossible risks. Every equipment decision became a gamble. Every loan application became a fear. Every repair became a negotiation with a future that looked darker by the day. South of the border, farmers were telling the same story. Tariffs, trade wars, price swings, everything was pushing them to the brink. One called the tariffs the ice cream on top of a disaster cake. And he wasn't exaggerating. The entire sector, North American agriculture, was being pulled apart by unpredictable policy. But in Canada, the impact was sharper, heavier, more suffocating. The farm machinery market didn't slow down. It froze, financing evaporated, combine sales collapsed, tractor purchases halted. It wasn't a cycle, it wasn't a downturn, it was a stop sign. John Deere didn't need a press conference to notice. They saw the numbers. They saw the collapse in real time. Analysts reported not a softening of demand, but the disappearance of demand. And no manufacturer can survive in a country where customers simply stop buying. Staying in Canada wasn't risky, it was suicidal. So when Deere started cutting production across North America, Canada wasn't one of many casualties. It was the first, the hardest hit, the easiest to amputate. Because in the corporation's internal assessments, Canada wasn't a struggling market, it was a dead one. But the deeper story isn't just demand collapse. It's the environment Canada created around manufacturing, one that made staying impossible. For years, Canada's policies have made heavy industry heavier, carbon taxes climbing every year, industrial electricity more expensive than most American states, months-long waits for permits, uncertain regulations that shift with every political season, costs rising faster than margins, stability disappearing. Manufacturers don't survive on speeches or slogans, they survive on predictability. And Canada stopped offering that a long time ago. Energy was the breaking point. Powering a factory in Saskatchewan cost up to 40% more than powering one in Iowa. Alberta's grid instability threatened production schedules. Carbon taxes guaranteed rising costs every year. Meanwhile, U.S. governors were offering industrial electricity guarantees, tax holidays, and infrastructure support written into contracts. Canada offered ideals. America offered certainty. No corporation bets billions on ideals. Then came the right to repair war. Canadian farmers were already drowning financially, and Deere's locked-down software and repair restrictions pushed them over the edge. Imagine paying $500,000 for a combine and being told you can't fix it yourself, can't take it to your mechanic, can't even swap parts without Deere's blessing. To Ottawa, pushing for repair rights looked like protecting farmers. To Deere, it looked like an attack on their entire global business model. The relationship fractured instantly. Dealerships felt the fallout first. Parts disappeared, machines broke and stayed broken. Farmers came in during the most critical weeks of the season and left empty-handed. Trust, something that takes generations to build, collapsed almost overnight. And when trust collapses, the market follows. Foreign competitors saw their chance. China, Europe, South Korea. Companies that once had no foothold in North America suddenly became lifelines. Machines available today, parts available tomorrow, delivery guaranteed. Reliability offered where Deere could no longer deliver. Farmers didn't switch out of preference, they switched out of necessity. And every foreign tractor sold wasn't just revenue lost for Deere, it was a piece of Canada's agricultural identity slipping away. Meanwhile, Washington was watching closely, not because of Canada's struggles, but because the collapse threatened their own supply chains. U.S. governors didn't wait for federal intervention. Iowa, Michigan, and Ohio bypassed national governments and contacted Canadian officials directly. They weren't negotiating. They were issuing warnings. If Canada couldn't stabilize its farm machinery market, Deere needed to move production home immediately. And the American states made promises Ottawa never could. Low-cost energy, fast permits, tax incentives, land, labor support, and something Canada hadn't provided in years: policy stability. That was the moment the relocation stopped being an idea and became a locked-in decision. But here's what almost nobody in Canada understands. The U.S. didn't just welcome Deere back, they integrated it into a national strategy. To the Pentagon, the USDA, and the governors of the Midwest, Deere isn't a company. It's infrastructure, it's food security, it's strategic influence, it's technological leadership. While Ottawa held press conferences wondering what happened, Washington was bringing Deere into a 20-year modernization plan. Robotics, automation, AI-driven farm systems, drought-resistant agriculture. Deere wasn't just relocating. They were being absorbed into the future of American farming. Canada wasn't even in the room. Meanwhile, the consequences across Canada were instant and brutal. Factories shuttered. Tens of thousands of jobs vanished in a matter of weeks. Dealerships started planning closures. Repair networks thinned. Equipment prices spiked. Rural supply chains, already fragile, began cracking. Canada didn't just lose John Deere. It lost control over the machinery that feeds the entire country. And Ottawa still hasn't fully understood the magnitude of the damage. This wasn't a single corporate decision. It was the culmination of years of policy missteps, ignored warnings, and economic signals that were dismissed as noise until they became a siren. Farmers feel betrayed. Communities feel abandoned. Dealers feel gutted. Manufacturers feel hunted by regulations. And John Deere, the biggest name in North American agriculture, left because staying in Canada had become impossible. This wasn't theft by the United States. It was a retreat from a market that could no longer sustain industrial life. And now, Canada is waking up to a reality it hoped it could avoid. The farm economy is cracked, manufacturers are fleeing, and one of the last anchors of rural stability just pulled out of the harbor. The fallout is only beginning. More closures will come, more jobs will disappear, more farmers will switch brands, more foreign competitors will move in, and the ripple effects will hit every corner of the food system. Because losing John Deere isn't just losing a factory, it's losing confidence, it's losing stability, it's losing a century-old relationship between Canadian farmers and the machines that built their livelihoods. And once that trust is gone, it doesn't come back quickly. Ottawa hasn't understood that yet. More is coming. Canada's agricultural and industrial crisis is only just beginning.